Welcome to Mommy Academy.
Thanks for watching.
Today we're going to continue reading our Jesus Storybook Bible. Nikki, who's the author of our Jesus Storybook Bible?
Jesus.
That's very good because ultimately God wrote the Bible. But there's a lady who wrote the Jesus Storybook Bible based on the Bible, so it's easier for children to understand. Do you remember what her name is?
Sally Lloyd Jones.
That's very good, Sally Lloyd Jones. And have you been enjoying reading the Jesus Storybook Bible?
Yeah.
Me too. It is such a great children's Bible. I highly recommend it. So go ahead and get yourself a copy so you can join us and read along as we read the Jesus Storybook Bible and read it with your family. Last time, do you remember what story we read?
No.
Okay. Well, last time we read about a lady named Leah. That's right. And Leah learned that God loved her more than anyone else could. Do you know who loves you more than anyone else could?
Jesus.
That's right. I love you so much. And
I love you so much.
Jesus is perfect. But today we're going to be reading another story, and it's called The Forgiving Prince. And in this story, there's a boy who has a very colorful coat, and that's a picture of it. Are you ready?
Yep.
This is the story of Joseph and his brothers from Genesis 37 through 46. Now remember that the man who married Leah, his name was Jacob.
Jacob.
Yes. And remember that Jacob married not only Leah, but also her sister Rachel. And both Rachel and Leah had some children, and we're going to learn about what their family was like. So Jacob had 12 sons, but of all his sons, Joseph was his favorite. Did you know that mommies and daddies aren't supposed to have favorites in their children?
Yeah.
Mommies and daddies should love all the children the same.
Yeah.
So he was making a mistake. But remember, God uses all different kinds of people for his plans, even when we make mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's better not to have favorites if you're a parent, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but of all his sons, Joseph was his favorite. One day, Jacob gave Joseph a splendid new robe. It was beautiful and rich with all the colors of the rainbow, but it made Joseph's brothers jealous. They wanted rich rainbow robes too. To make matters worse, Joseph kept having these special dreams. I dreamed I was the greatest. I was the king, Joseph told his brothers, and you all bowed down to me. Now I'm sure you know, even if Joseph didn't, that telling your brothers things like that isn't a very good idea. Joseph's brothers hated him even more. They wanted to kill Joseph and his dreams. And one day, that's exactly what they tried to do. They tore Joseph's rainbow robe off him and sold him to slave traders for 20 pieces of silver. That's very, very sad. The traders took Joseph to Egypt, that's far away from Joseph's home, and made him into a slave. Do you know what a slave is?
No.
A slave is where someone is forced to work for someone else, and they don't get paid. And that person who makes them work can tell them to do whatever they want. And sometimes those people are very mean. They sometimes hit them, or they don't feed them. So being a slave is a very, very sad thing to be. So they made Joseph a slave. The brothers went home and lied to their father, telling him that Joseph was dead. That's the end of that dreamer, they thought. But they were wrong. God had a magnificent dream for Joseph's life, and even when it looked like everything had gone wrong, God would use it to help make the dream come true. God would use everything that was happening to Joseph to do something good. Meanwhile, though, things were not looking good for Joseph in Egypt. He was far from home and from his dad, and he got blamed for something he didn't do. Someone lied about him. And even though he had done nothing wrong, he was punished and thrown into jail. But God had not left Joseph. One night, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had a scary dream about thin cows gobbling up fat cows. What on earth did it mean? He didn't know, but Joseph was a dream expert. So Pharaoh sent for him. It means famine is coming, Joseph explained. There won't be enough food. Pharaoh was so pleased by Joseph's skill that he immediately took Joseph out of jail and made him a prince. Now, back home, Joseph's brothers had run out of food, and everyone was hungry. God's special family was in danger. If they didn't get food soon, they would starve to death.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So Joseph's brothers traveled to Egypt to buy food. So here's the cows, the fat cows were eaten up by the skinny and unhealthy cows. So Joseph's brothers went to Egypt. They came and knelt before the new prince, Joseph. His brothers didn't know that the prince was Joseph, but Joseph knew who they were. Joseph's dreams, the one about his brothers bowing down to him, was coming true. "It's me," Joseph cried. When they saw it was Joseph, his brothers were afraid. They had wronged Joseph. They had sinned, and they knew it. Now Joseph would certainly punish them. But Joseph looked at his brothers, and his eyes filled with tears, even though his brothers had hurt him and hated him and wanted him dead. And in spite of everything, he couldn't stop loving them. And that's what love is about. Even when someone isn't kind to us, that we want the best for them. That's the kind of love that Jesus has for us. His heart, which they had broken, filled up with love. And Joseph forgave them. Joseph threw his arms around his brothers. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Behind what you were doing, underneath everything that was happening, God was doing something good. God was making everything right again." Joseph didn't punish them, he rescued them. He brought God's special family to live safely with him in Egypt. One day, God would send another prince, a young prince, whose heart would break. Like Joseph, he would leave his home and his father. His brothers would hate him and want him dead. He would be sold for pieces of silver. He would be punished even though he'd done nothing wrong. But God would use everything that happened to this young prince, even the bad things, to do something good, to forgive the sins of the whole world. Who's this other prince that Sally's referring to? Who came down from heaven, left his Father in heaven.
Hey, it was Jesus.
Very good, that's right. Every story points back to Jesus because that's what the Bible's about. The Bible before Jesus is about how Jesus came and who Jesus was and why Jesus came and everything in history that led up to Jesus. Here's a picture of Joseph and his brothers hugging. Oh, what a beautiful story.
Yeah.
If someone was very mean to you, do you think you could still love them?
No.
You know what? As people, we wouldn't be able to. But you know who could help us love people even when they're really mean to us?
Jesus.
That's right. With Jesus's help, because Jesus is perfect love, we can love anyone no matter what they do, especially because that helps our hearts to say good. Hatred and not love turns our hearts yucky, and we don't want that. Okay, well, we are excited about learning more about love this week because this is Valentine's Day week. Guess what? Valentine's Day is in 4 days.
Yeah.
It's so soon. And that's a great time to show people how much you love them. Well, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed reading with us from the Jesus Storybook Bible. Please subscribe, please like, please share. We hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Bye.